Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. I'm Utsaf Parekh and I'll take you through the top stories of the day. We start with updates on the Israel-Hamas war. The United Nations General Assembly voted for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the war yesterday. This is after more than three-quarters of the 193-member General Assembly backed the move. Only the US, Israel and 8 other countries voted against yesterday's resolution. However, the UN General Assembly resolution is non-binding. Last week, a binding ceasefire in the UN Security Council had been vetoed by the US. Meanwhile, a new rift seems to be emerging between Israel and the US. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there are disagreements between the two allies. Netanyahu said Israel enjoys US support for its goals of destroying Hamas, but he added that the two nations differ on what might follow the Gaza war. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has said that Israel is losing American support because of its indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. Israel says its troops have recovered the bodies of 2 hostages seized by Hamas on October 7th. One of them is 27-year-old Eden Zakaria, who was captured at the Nova Music Festival. The other victim has been identified as Warrant Officer Ziv Dado. Hamas had taken about 240 hostages during the October 7th attack. Over 100 of these hostages were released during the last truce. Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahian has warned the US over the Israel-Hamas war spilling over. He said, and I quote, "If this situation continues, an uncontrollable and unpredictable explosion could take place at any time." The Iranian FM warned that the consequences will likely, quote-unquote, strongly affect the US. More Israeli strikes have hit houses in Gaza's Khan Yunis city yesterday. Injured Palestinian men and children were brought to the Nasser hospital in the southern Gaza Strip. Khan Yunis residents said Israeli tank shelling was now focused on the city center. They added that the tanks were operating near the house of Yahya al-Sinwar, Hamas's leader in Gaza. Meanwhile, several women and children were rushed from the scene of an Israeli airstrike in Rafah. Residents say the shelling was some of the heaviest in days. People were seen frantically digging through the rubble looking for survivors. Israel is now concentrating its strikes on Khan Yunis and Rafah in the south of Gaza. In other top news, Ukrainian officials say at least 34 people have been injured in Russia's second missile attack on Kyiv this week. Several homes and a children's hospital were also damaged. The attacks come as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Washington, D.C. to push for continued U.S. military aid. Meanwhile, Biden met with Zelensky at the White House. Two leaders discussed the support for Ukraine. In a combined press conference, Biden said that Putin is banking on the US failing to deliver for Kyiv. Earlier on Tuesday, Biden urged the US Congress to fund additional aid for Ukraine and announced $200 million in separate military assistance. British lawmakers have voted in favour of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Rwanda asylum plan. The legislation seeks to deport people arriving illegally in England to Rwanda. Members of Parliament voted 313 to 269 in favour of the bill. Despite the win, the legislation saw opposition by dozens of lawmakers within Sunak's own Conservative Party. China's President Xi Jinping met with Vietnamese leaders on the second day of a state visit to Hanoi. This is Xi's first visit to the South Asian nation in 6 years. Yesterday, the two nations agreed to deepen their partnership. A formal China-Vietnam joint statement on diplomatic relations is expected today. While economic ties between China and Vietnam remain strong, the neighbors have been at odds over boundaries in the South China Sea. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is expected to announce a cabinet shake-up. This could come as soon as today. Reports say 4 cabinet ministers and several deputy ministers are expected to go. The potential move comes as Kishida seeks to stem the fallout from a fundraising scandal within the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. The scandal has dented public support for his embattled administration. The Pakistani military has buried 23 of its soldiers who were killed in a suicide attack yesterday. This was after a 6-man suicide squad drove an explosive-laden truck into a military camp in northwest Pakistan. Militants affiliated with the Pakistani Taliban have claimed responsibility for the attack. A record 49.5 million people are expected to go hungry in West and Central Africa next year. This is according to a new report by the United Nations World Food Programme. It expects the surge in hunger due to a combination of reasons, including conflict, climate change and high food prices. The UN report says the cost of a daily nutritious diet in some African countries is 110% higher than the daily minimum wage in the region. In climate news, the COP28 presidency has released a proposed text of a final climate deal that would, for the first time, push nations to transition away from fossil fuels. The text advocates for transitioning away from fossil fuels, but avoids explicit terms like phase out or phase down. Participants at the COP28 summit have been deeply divided over the mention of fossil fuels in the final text, with protests from oil-producing nations like OPEC members and their allies. An analysis by Oxfam America revealed that at least a quarter of the billionaires who attended the COP28 summit amassed their wealth from highly polluting industries. This includes petrochemicals, mining and beef production. Oxfam said, and I quote, "The super-rich who have done the most to cause climate change are mobilizing to drown out the voices of communities who are suffering its consequences." Tropical cyclone Jasper is expected to make landfall in Australia's Queensland today. The cyclone has strengthened into a Category 2 storm and is forecast to bring flash floods. Strong winds have affected some towns even before landfall. According to reports, over 8,000 homes don't have electricity. Spain is seeing record-breaking temperatures for December. The mercury has reached close to 30 degrees Celsius. This is due to a mass of hot air over the Iberian Peninsula. Spain's National Weather Agency forecasts a drop in temperature in the coming days. The warm conditions follow a summer with 4 heat waves, contributing to Spain's hottest year on record. Bosnian towns have ranked high in world air pollution charts for several days in December. The country has among the highest levels of fine particulate matter pollution in Europe. Residential solid fuel burning and transportation are cited as major contributors to the pollution in Bosnia. The Balkan nation is facing a cost of living crisis. People are opting for cheaper solid fuels and they're using older cars with higher emissions. According to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Arctic Report Card, the Arctic experienced its warmest summer on record in 2023. Summer surface air temperatures in the Arctic were the highest since the 1900s. This poses a global threat due to the risk of higher sea levels. Rescuers in Bolivia are working to clean birds affected by an oil spill in Lake Titicaca in November. The spill resulted from an overturned vegetable oil truck. Over 100 Andean coots, a native bird species, have reportedly died. An environmental group has urged the company responsible for the spill to take accountability for cleaning up the lake and aiding affected animals. In business and tech news, consumer giant Unilever is facing a probe over possible greenwashing. It's under investigation by watchdogs in the UK. Britain's Competition and Markets Authority says it wants to make sure shoppers aren't being misled. This comes after an initial review of Unilever. The UK watchdog has concerns that the firm could be overstating how green or sustainable some products are. Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered outside the New York Times, Citigroup and Starbucks buildings in New York. They were protesting against the company's stances on the Israel-Hamas conflict. The crowds carried Palestinian flags and banners calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. This comes shortly after a controversy at Zara. The clothing brand was forced to remove an advertisement deemed to be offensive towards Palestinians. Zara removed the ads after facing calls for a boycott. Puma has said that it will end its sponsorship of Israel's national football team next year. However, the decision is not related to the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. The decision was taken in 2022 as part of Puma's quote-unquote fewer, bigger, better strategy. A Palestinian-led movement had earlier called for a boycott of the sportswear firm before the October 7th attack. This was over its sponsorship of the Israeli team. A French car maker Renault will sell a 5% stake in Nissan. It is the first stage of a planned disposal of its holding in the Japanese car maker. The automakers have a decades-long tie-up, but that is undergoing significant change with a rebalancing of their relationship. In July, Renault and Nissan agreed to restructure their alliance after months of negotiations. U.S. consumer prices unexpectedly rose in November. This came as a decline in the cost of gasoline was offset by increases in rent. The Labor Department report offers more evidence that the Federal Reserve is unlikely to cut interest rates early next year. Last week, data also showed that job gains accelerated in November and the unemployment rate fell. The developing nations in Asia will end the year on a brighter note. This is according to the Asian Development Bank. It said that growth in the region expected to be stronger than previously thought. The ADB raised its 2023 growth forecast for developing Asia to 4.9% from an earlier forecast of 4.7%. China's securities regulators are facing backlash from industry players. This is over its proposal to drastically raise the bar for investing in private equity and venture capital funds. Last week, the country's securities regulators published draft rules. It tripled the initial investment amount in private equity or venture capital firms. Investors are concerned this could wipe out small funds and choke financing to startups. Elon Musk's social media platform X's 2023 ad sales are projected to fall to about $2.5 billion. That is according to a report. The projection comes after several companies, including Comcast and Walt Disney, paused their advertisements on the platform. This was after last month Musk agreed with an anti-Semitic post on X. X's advertising revenue from the second half of 2021 and first half of 2022 totaled $4.7 billion. Apple has reportedly made a major move to settle EU antitrust charges and fight off a possible big fine. Reports say the US tech giant has offered to let rivals access its tap-and-go mobile payment systems. Last year, EU regulators charged Apple. That was for curbing access to its tap-and-go technology called Near-Field Communication, or NFC. That made it difficult for rivals to develop mobile wallet services on Apple devices. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. South Africa beat India by 5 wickets in yesterday's T20 match. India batted first and scored 180 runs in their innings after rainfall stopped play. Rinku Singh scored his maiden international half-century in a T20 match. Using the Duckworth-Lewis method, South Africa were given a revised target of 152 runs in 15 overs. The Proteas settled the win in the 13th over with a 49-run knock from Reza Hendricks. South Africa now lead the three-match T20 series 1-0. The West Indies beat England by 4 wickets in a T20 thriller yesterday. England batted first and were bowled out for 171 runs in the 19th over. Batters Shai Hope and Kyle Myers scored quick 30s to help the West Indies chase down the total in the 18th over. Andre Russell was named player of the match for taking 3 wickets and scoring 29 runs for the West Indies. Australian batter Usman Khawaja was pictured in the nets wearing a show with a message for peace in Gaza. Khawaja was planning on wearing the shoes in the opening test match against Pakistan tomorrow. Now, Australian captain Pat Cummins has confirmed that Khawaja will not be wearing the shoes on match day. Cummins added that Australia supported Khawaja for his message of peace. However, it would go against the rules by the International Cricket Council or ICC. In football, Bayern Munich beat Manchester United 1-0 in the Champions League. The game was played at the iconic Old Trafford yesterday. It was a scoreless first half. Kingsley Coman scored in the 70th minute to give Bayern Munich the lead. With the loss, Manchester United have been knocked out of the Champions League tournament. Real Madrid beat Union Berlin 3-2 in yesterday's Champions League match. Kevin Volland scored in the first half injury time to give Union Berlin the lead. In the second half, Real came back after Joselu scored a double. In the 85th minute, Union Berlin equalized on a goal from Alex Kral. Just 4 minutes later, Dani Ceballos delivered the winning goal for Real Madrid. Former Italy and Juventus defender Giorgio Chiellini announced his retirement from professional football. Chiellini captained Italy to clinch the 2020 Euro Cup. The 39-year-old has played 117 times for his country. He spent most of his club years at Juventus and helped them win the Serie A title 9 times. In hockey, India beat the Netherlands 4-3 in the Men's Junior World Cup quarter-final. The Netherlands got the ball rolling early and took a 2-0 lead at half-time. Then the India Colts built pressure on the Dutch and scored 2 goals to equalize the score at 2-all. The Dutch side came back with another goal, but India Colts piled on 2 more to seal the win. India will next play Germany in the semi-final tomorrow. In weightlifting, India's Mirabai Chanu will skip the Asian Championships in February next year. She is still recovering from a hip injury which she sustained in October at the Asian Games in China. Chanu, who lifts in the 49 kg weight class, says she will participate in the World Cup in April 2024. In basketball, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, was seen back on the court. Bronny James played for his college team, the University of South California. He played for 16 minutes, scoring 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals and 1 block. In July, Bronny collapsed on court after suffering a cardiac arrest during a training session for his college team. In the Olympics, Paris 2024 organizers say that at least 60% of all food will be vegetarian. Athletes and spectators will be served meat-free burgers, salads and vegan products. Organizers say that 80% of all dishes will be made from produce sourced in France. Organizers added that they are catering to serve over 13 million vegetarian dishes at the Olympics. In entertainment news, singer Taylor Swift's record-breaking concert film, The Eras Tour, is set to release digitally on December 13th. This coincides with the pop icon's 34th birthday. The film will be available for rent on platforms like Apple TV, Vudu, Amazon, Google Play, and YouTube. The digital release includes 3 additional songs that have not been featured in the theatrical version of the film. Rapper Cardi B has confirmed her split from husband Offset. She confirmed this during an Instagram Live session. Confronted with rumors of cheating, she expressed indifference and didn't delve into the details of the separation. Cardi B also admitted to struggling with publicly announcing her split. Rapper Sean Combs is facing business repercussions over the multiple sexual abuse allegations against him. According to reports, over 18 companies have severed ties with his e-commerce platform, Empower Global. The companies are distancing themselves in response to the allegations. The platform was founded by Combs in 2021. Former US President Barack Obama is facing criticism over his role as a consultant for the film Leave the World Behind. One of the film's scenes has a dialogue cautioning against easily trusting white people, and this has stirred controversy on social media. The film has been produced by Obama's company, Higher Ground. The 2023 apocalyptic thriller features actor Julia Roberts in the lead role. The third trailer of Dune Part 2 was released yesterday. The new trailer reveals Timothée Chalamet's character grappling with PTSD. This is after a war in Part 1 where the character lost his father. It also shows glimpses of romance brewing between Chalamet and Zendaya's characters. The film is slated to release on March 1st, 2024. Marvel Studios is developing a Black Panther animated series titled Eyes of Wakanda. A Marvel executive teased the project during the screening of the upcoming series called What If? The Black Panther animated series will explore the history of Wakanda. According to sources, Black Panther director Ryan Coogler is a part of this project. Actor Anne Hathaway has expressed her admiration for Greta Gerwig's Barbie film. In an interview, she revealed feeling fortunate that her own Barbie project in 2017 didn't materialize. The film was set for a release in May 2020 before being scrapped. Hathaway said that Gerwig's version hit the creative bullseye with the right team and vision. Former Nickelodeon star Amanda Bynes revealed on TikTok that she underwent a blepharoplasty. It's a type of surgery that removes excess skin from the eyelids. She called the procedure the best thing for her confidence and self-esteem. Actor Jennifer Aniston revealed that she was texting with Matthew Perry on the day he passed away. In an interview, she emphasized that he was healthy and happy. Aniston praised Perry's pursuit of health, hard work, and unique contribution to the American sitcom series Friends. Actor Matthew Perry passed away in October this year. Actor Andre Braugher passed away at the age of 61 after a brief illness. He was popularly known for playing the role of Captain Raymond Holt in the series Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Braugher's publicist confirmed the news of his passing. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.